I would like to talk about hypermobility. Uh, there's an Aristotelian idea regarding virtues and characteristics that everything is virtuous in moderation. That whole all things in moderation thing, in certain respects, that originates with Aristotle, in that he's the one who articulated this notion the best. So he talks about how like ambition is good for a person; it makes a person strong, it makes a person resilient, and it provides for all the productivity in society. And an excess of ambition, manifests as greed, and greed, can destroy a person and can destroy a community and that kind of thing. And the assertion here is that the quality is the same in kind, whether it's ambition or greed, and it's just an excess. And he gives many examples of things that are just an excess. Well, it turns out that a lot of attributes can actually be pretty reasonably parsed, and you can see a difference in kind. And it makes the idea of the everything in moderation perspective kind of obsolete, because it's far less useful and doesn't produce results that are as strong. And one example that came up earlier today for me was the example of flexibility. So flexibility is healthiest when you have strength at your full range of motion, and you have a sufficient range of motion for all of the activities that may be involved in your lifestyle, right? And then there's a question of what are healthy lifestyles, but that goes beyond the question of what is healthy flexibility, right? So it's sensible to seek to have healthy lifestyle pursuits, and then within those lifestyle pursuits, there are ranges of motion that are demanded. And if you have strength at the full range of motion commensurate with the lifestyle pursuits, then that is solid, healthy flexibility. Hypermobility is when you have parts of your body that can move outside of the range of motion in which you are strong. Frequently also this, can result in injury. Like, so your knee has a tendency to bend sideways instead of just open and close. That's hypermobility. Or if it overextends forward, that's hypermobility. And we don't have muscle groups that are structured in such a way to effectively articulate the foreleg, forward or side to side. We have a ball and socket joint at the hip, and so we can direct our foreleg in all kinds of directions, but not from the knee itself. Any motion outside of this kind of open shut range in the knee is hypermobility, and it is a weakness because you have no ability to exert strength in those directions, right? And so we can see a difference in kind between flexibility and hypermobility. Hypermobility is movement you can't control or use, right? Even if it doesn't create injury, which frequently it does. So this came up actually in a social context regarding flexible scheduling, right? So I had an appointment with somebody, and they text and they're like, hey, and it's kind of moved around a little bit, or just the idea of doing this thing has bounced around. And then day of, I get a text. It's like, hey, can we do that thing tomorrow? And it's like, well, I plan my life to some extent, and like, yes, it was possible to move things tomorrow, but it would mean moving more things around. And there's this interesting characteristic that you can find in people who have incredibly flexible schedules, is they aren't capable, or to the extent that that's true, because it's a massive continuum, to the extent that a person is always flexible, other people can't collaborate with them, which means that as a unit, as a collective unit, as a dyad, or even as a larger community, that dyad or that community is weaker because of the inability to rely upon movement at that range, right? If you can't count on something that was scheduled happening, then you can't depend on it. You can't make follow-up plans. You can't leverage your plans. You lose strength at the range of motion, which is the infinitely flexible schedule. You can be fully spontaneous, and that's maximal flexibility, but it's very, very difficult to leverage, if not impossible at the extreme to leverage, which means you can't have strength at that infinite range of motion, right? So that is an example we can see in physiology of strength at range of motion, right? You know, it's like if I can lift something all the way out here that has some weight to it, and I've got good strength at range of motion, but if I can only do these like tight curls, but as soon as my arm's extended, it, like, you know, something hurts up here, I don't have strength at the full range of motion. And it's the same thing in a social capacity. If people are very, very flexible with each other, but that flexibility means that plans actually can't get made, and people can't count on anything from that other person. If everything is, you know, this is what we call flakiness. If people are just flaky with each other in social groups, then there's no way to depend on each other, and then we lose strength. So hypermobility and flexibility are two distinct things. This can be seen as an example of how virtues are not simply a continuum that we have to moderate, because we can find differences in kind. And because we can find differences in kind, virtues are things which are always good, no matter how much of them you have. Thanks. Just a little bit of anti-Aristotelian philosophy regarding very simple aspects of life. That's it. Bye.